मैम जरूर, बिल्कुल 10 बजे के हिसाब से तैयार हो जाएंगे। हो जाएगा अभी।
अभी तो 10 बजे है, 10 बजे तक मैं स्टार्ट नहीं करते।
नहीं, हम तो स्टार्ट नहीं करते, पर हम वैसे तो स्टार्ट हो जाते हैं ना, लोग आने जाने लगते हैं। लिख तो भेज दिया होगा अभी।
करता हूँ।
What do you think? Good morning, all. Another day with same participants, platform, and host. Welcome to the first session of day 4. And today we have Dr. Ritu Mittal ma'am with us. We had Ritu ma'am on second day session of first day, which was offline, and today she is interacting with us in online session. She is having more than 18 years of experience in teaching and having 19 papers published in national and international seminars. Presently, she is working as assistant professor in SD College of Management Studies. Now, I would like to request Dr. Ritu ma'am to please convey her informative lecture on the topic vocational education on NEP. Ma'am.
Hello. Good morning to all. Good morning, Sonakshi.
Good morning, ma'am.
I'm very happy again to be a part of the learning program of FDP, which has been jointly organized by IIT Roorkee and SDPG College Muzaffarnagar. I would like to extend my very warm greetings to Dr. Sudhir Pundeet sir, Principal SDPG College, Dr. Rimple Pundeet ma'am, Coordinator of the FDP program, the academic faculty, the academic fraternity of SDPG College, and all the scholars who have joined for this session in the online and the offline mode. Today, I have been in the topic of vocational education under the framework of National Education Policy 2020. I hope I am audible to all.
Yes, ma'am.
Fine. So, as whenever we start with a talk, it's basically the introduction is a kind of a mandatory aspect that has to be covered. NEP, that is National Education Policy 2020, has a clear-cut vision of achieving India's quality education starting from schools till colleges and universities, so that it can contribute towards the sustainability of the country, and also it can give equal opportunity of development and uh, growth progress to its citizens. The concept of education as manifested in National Education Policy 2020 has a very broad horizon. It has covered not only the schooling aspect, schooling too has been divided in 4 stages, that is 5 plus 4 plus 4 plus 3. Sorry, 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4. And apart from that, after the schooling, the candidate is given the chance, the avenues of taking admission in college, and that in college which are affiliated to different universities. And after that, he can go for a PG and a post PG also. Education in different disciplines has been discussed in quite a detail by NEP 2020. At the same time, a very important aspect of NEP 2020 is vocational education. Whenever the policymakers they think of including different aspects of any particular segment, be it education, healthcare, or hospitality, naturally it gives an altogether different meaning to the already existing concept, which might not have been studied or taken care of, taken notice of by the people who are concerned with. Same is the case of vocational education. Vocational education till date has been taken in the light of something as a kind of extracurricular activity which may be undertaken by students in their classes, in their colleges, as a kind of a hobby. It it has not been given the kind of a professional touch, the kind of ambience, the kind of setup which it deserves. Now, the national education policy has given a very clear cut importance and a very due importance to the concept of vocational education. Universities and colleges across our country have been producing people for work. They have been producing academicians, scientists, professionals, technocrats, and a number of other people who are utilized by the infrastructure and by the economy of the country. But apart from generating or apart from producing people who have contributed the to the forefront of the economy, or to the front working segments of the economy, we need to have people who provide a very strong support system, a very strong backup for all of us who work at the front. And that kind of a backup can be provided, has been provided rather, by vocational education. Vocational education, in very simple words, can be vocational education in very simple words can be described as uh, it's as a mode of education, as a subject which has knowledge, theoretical knowledge, and practical skills which have been incorporated according to the objective of the course at the same time. Like, for example, if one if one student goes in school or in college, he or she can be given a short term can be given a short term course in uh, cooking, in baking, in textile designing, dyeing, and the handicrafts, and such kind of a course. They not only helps a student to have more knowledge about what can happen, what he can learn, and what he can gather, what the skills that are required for a particular job, and at the same time it would add to his learning experience and to his expertise. So vocational education, that is the reason why it is or rather I would like to put up like this, that vocational education is a combination of two words: vocation plus education. Vocation is something, it's a skilled it's a skilled job which needs a lot of practice, which needs a systematic approach, which needs training, a lot of training, and at the same time it goes with the system of theory. So whenever you are educated in a formal setup by any skill based or any incorporating incorporating technique of work, that is known as vocational education. It is you, the basic advantage, the basic idea behind vocational education is to make a person more more competitive and more sustainable. He or she will be able to deliver not only his academic, he or she will not be able to deliver just his academic qualifications or academic degrees or talent, but at the same time, for his own happiness, for his own uh, need of accomplishment, he may pursue a vocational education which has been given to him as a part of his hobby, as a part of his uh, startup or something like this. Now, the objective of the NEP 2020 as in regards to vocational education is also very specific. It aims to take the vocational education in schools and colleges up to 50% by 2025. That is what it can be very simply put into words like whatever the number of the students we may have in schools and colleges right now, 50% of them must be vocationally educated about the stream of their choice, which has been provided by the colleges and the universities, and their learning should be add on by vocational education by the year 2025. It's a very, I must say, a very encouraging step which has been mentioned in the NEP 2020, because no matter how much education, academic education you give to your people across the country in your education setup, but you need to make them more, versatile, you need to make them more multidisciplinary, so that they can work just not only on one front, but they can work on the other fronts also, if the need so comes, or if they so desire. um, I would like to give few statistics here. There is a there is a wide gap between formal vocational education in India and in Western countries. It's a little statistics I would like to mention here. Uh, the 12th five-year plan estimated that less than 5% of the Indian workforce in the age group of 19 to 24 received formal vocational education, as compared to 52% in US, 75% in Germany, and 96% in South Korea. So if such is the difference between the statistics between the population who are getting vocational education, you can very well we can also very well understand what must be the philosophy of these developed countries of giving vocational education. They want their citizens to have one or more talent in addition to their education, so that they live a happy life, they lead a contributing life, and at the same time they can add to the economy and the progress of the country, even if we come down to the micro level, they can add on to the progress of their local area, of the local town or the city in which they are operating. Next, a very I must say, something which has been stopping vocational education lately is the segmentation, or you can say is the separation between academic education and vocational education. That separation should not be there anymore. We need to have vocational education along with academic education. And for that, it is very important that all the uh, segments in the education sector, starting from schools, that is the middle school, then the senior secondary school, they should have a compulsory course in vocational education for children as per their requirement and as per the availability of the resources which can be mustered up by the guidance of the state and by the management of the school. Now, I would like to talk about social status hierarchy and vocational education. Social status hierarchy, as the term implies, or as it is something which can be well understood by the title of this particular title, is social status hierarchy. We have Most of us must have studied Maslow's need hierarchy theory. In that, the basically the movement of an individual, or you can say the motivation of an individual, is governed by his needs. So as the fulfillment of the need, that is, if you have the physiological needs, then the safety needs, then you have the security needs. So a person moves up the ladder for the fulfillment of needs, and the next need acts as a motive. That was a that was a conceptual framework, that was a conceptual presentation of need hierarchy theory. Same The same kind of a hierarchy can be envisioned in the field of education. That is, first of all, if we go up the ladder, that is, if we go from bottom to top, then the first the first step is occupied by vocational education. Then comes academic qualifications, or you can say academic education. And the next level is taken up by professional education. And that is in India, basically. We are talking about NEP 2020, so naturally it is in context to our country. So that has been the general status, or you can say hierarchy of education. So whenever people usually the students, or even as a parent, whenever one gets his or her child admitted in school, their first area of concern is what is the academic output of this school, what is the academic output of this college. uh, when we go to the college, when we go to the university, it takes a more professional term, that is placement. Okay. And when we talk about schools, then we talk about what is the result of this particular school. But we never talk, or we never bother to ask that what else will my child learn over here, apart from what is being taught in academics, what extra edge in sports, in like different skills, or any other kind of art and craft, any other kind of cooking skills, baking skills, textile skills, stitching skills, he would be uh, electric able to handle computers, able to handle automation, designing. So will he be able to learn any of these? This is not a question which comes to the mind of a parent, or even of a mind of a parent when one gets to the schools to get the admission done. So this shows that somehow schools, or rather the society as in such, has been staying or has been cutting itself back from the concept of vocational education. But now the same attitude cannot prolong. We need to change. We need to have a different mindset towards it, because when you are making your child or when you are making your student learn something which is not there in academics, I mean something apart from academics, not there in academics, it's like something add on to the academics, you are enhancing his dimensions. You are enhancing the dimension of your child, as he can move ahead, he can diversify, he can extend his vision, and he definitely can be more he can be more sufficient in the terms of money. Because money is something, becoming self-reliant, becoming self-dependent, has a dimension which is measured in the concept, which is measured in the terms of money. So if you have a professional acumen, you have a academic acumen, and then you have a skilled or a vocational education, it means you are yourself increasing the chances of your revenue generation, which is a very big concern to the general masses or to the citizens of our country, and that is a very natural phenomena also. So, but we need to we need to we need to imply it. Uh, we just cannot appreciate what's happening outside our city or outside our state. Whatever good things are happening outside our city or outside our state, if we appreciate them, we have to incorporate them in the system. We have to develop such a kind of a system of vocational education in tuning with the academic calendar, and the schools, they have to generate, because the school is the first formal education sector in which a child goes, whether it's from nursery, whether it's from play, it's from nursery, then he definitely moves on to first class, second grade, and so on. So schools have a bigger responsibility to perform here. It has more reasons attached to it. Once a student who is in school is in complete or you can say in complete obedience pattern of the teachers. Whatever the teachers teach him, he's ready to learn. He is ready to say, yes, ma'am, I'll do it. Yes, sir, I'll do it. And then he tries to give his best. So he's as it has been rightly put, that small children are clay and they need to be shaped up. So if the schools have this thing that they want to shape up the personality of their students with academics and skill and a vocational education, then it would be easier for them, because the psychological barriers, or you can say any kind of disinterest or any kind of uh, uh, feeling of boredom will not be there from the side of student. The energy of the school or the institution will be utilized just in giving that particular education or that particular vocational education to the child, and they would have very small or very small percentage of students who do not want to learn, who do not want to cooperate, their parents don't want to cooperate. So most of the energy that would be utilized positively for work, and there would be very little hesitation, or there would be very little resistance from the side of the parent and the student as well. So the integration of school education and the integration of vocational education has to be done. It has to be implemented by the school, and definitely the colleges. The colleges are a platform. The colleges are a platform which are going to enhance what has been learned in the school. But there the student is more on his own. He has a society in which he would definitely make himself a member of on the basis of those particular skills, and that is ultimately going to add more to his personality dimensions, make him more versatile, and definitely it adds on to the placement of to the better placement of the students also. Recently, in most of the placement drives that have been conducted that have been or that are being conducted by multinationals, by very good by the best companies of India, a trend has been observed. The trend has been that they select a candidate just not on the basis of his academic performance. No doubt matters a lot, because somehow academic performance is correlated with knowledge. Academic performance is correlated with knowledge. The performance of a student in the university exam, in the school exam, somehow shows that a student has been regular, has been disciplined, and he has subject knowledge which has been which is there in his course or in his class. But apart from that, companies also show a great interest in candidates who have very strong communication skills, who uh, who are uh, who are leaders. I mean, from interviews they gather that a person can be a leader. Can he lead a team or not? And more, and apart from that, a lot of weightage is attached to the activities, the learning of different skills, of different vocations that a person has undergone, or or in a student has undertaken in school or in college. Like suppose you have something, if a student has done something in computers, a certificate course, or I mean, along with the school, and or designing, then animation, then you have robotics, you have little software development also. Then these are the kind of technical, the IT vocational education I'm talking about. Then you go to your home aspect, that includes your home management skills, such as your culinary skills, your cooking, baking. You're able to develop uh, uh, very very healthy juices, which can be undertaken by the teaching of your herbs which are available in our country. And then you have art and craft, then you have painting, and art and craft, painting, singing, dancing. So the list is endless. The list is endless. And every talent which is being taught in the school is valued by the company, because they have a different perspective. They know that what combination of academics and what combination of vocational education, if it is present in an individual, can do, or it can uh, bring what betterment it can, or what performance it can generate for the company, or for the any corporate or the business house which is undertaking or which is appointing the student. Now, this is the importance, or this is the requirement of the vocational education, as I have tried to put down. Uh, the Then we have uh, approach. An approach has been listed in the National Education Policy. Approach is basically how are we going to achieve this? How are we going to work towards it? That is basically the approach which is being talked about. As I had put up earlier when we started with the talk, that the government of India has a vision of taking vocational education to 50% by 2025, because they know that if they have to make their vision of vocational education a reality, then it has to start from the schools. So they have very clearly identified that the first platform of vocational education, the first incorporation, formal incorporation of vocational education by the state, by the central government, by the state government, and by the authorities, by the responsible authorities of education, has to make it compulsory from school itself. I had already talked about what can be the benefits of including vocational education from the school or from the school itself, because all the children are in very learning stage and they have free minds. They have no inhibitions. They are ready, and they have full confidence and faith on their teachers and their instructors. As per the government, all school students must receive, this is something which has been enumerated in the NEP draft 2020. All school students must receive vocational education in at least one vocation during grades 9 to 12. 9 to 12 is because that has been recognized as a senior secondary school, and students will choose among a selection of courses that has been put up by the management or by the school authorities in consultation with the state authorities and with the educational authorities. Then uh, next, something which has a very important point which has been propagated by the NEP 2020 is that the school, the college, and the university complexes have to be utilized in a more robust manner. We should be able to visualize that what else can be done here for students. The students, they generally come to the school at 7 in the morning or 7:30 in the morning, and then they leave by around 12, by around 2 in the afternoon. After that, the school premises is vacant. Then the colleges, they also have their specific timetables. They have their working hours, and apart from the work, once the teaching schedule is over in schools and universities or in colleges, if is it possible to utilize the school campus or the college campus for the incorporation of any vocational education, if possible? Because uh, some college, some schools say, or some of the academic institutions feel that if we take up a vocational education along with our curriculum, along with what has been there, what has been in the prescribed format, then it becomes little difficult to adjust the timings to give full attention to it. So if in case such a kind of a problem is uh, is encountered, or such a kind of a problem is come across by the institutions, then they can think of, can we use our campus, or how can we use our campus um, for vocational education after our teaching hours are over? Because you need to have the full energy, the full cooperation of teachers, of the infrastructure, and the student as well, for learning any extra special course or any extra special skill. This would also require collaborations with ITIs, then polytechnics, because ITIs and polytechnics, they have courses which they have courses and the diploma courses for different streams, uh, uh, which a student can undertake after the completion of his plus two. They generally have the diploma courses, and after diploma they give degrees also. So collaboration and ITIs and polytechnics are have a very strong presence. Uh, they have a very connected. They have a very connected presence in the locality, because students from students from rural areas as well as urban areas, they know they have an access to ITIs, and they know they have access to polytechnics also. Since polytechnics do not need, since polytechnics do not need a big infrastructure as compared to a degree college or a technical university, so polytechnics and ITIs can be opened in rural. Collaboration with ITIs, then polytechnics, local industries, and business funds. This is something which is very, very important, and it is regularly manifested. It is regularly talked about by the people in academics, in rather professional education also, that a collaborative partnership between professional education institutes and the academy and the business houses who are going to absorb those professionals should be encouraged by the government and by the institutions themselves, because the placement the placement and because the employability gap, that is the demand of the industry shall be very scientifically met by the supply which is coming out from our professional institutions and from our academic institutions also. And then we would have a placement which would definitely encourage, and it would definitely add on to the spirit of the young generation of our youngsters who are in the market, and they know that if a person has been employed, or a person has been appointed by a particular company, then it has been on the basis of these particular skills. So that would also help to generate a roadmap for a learner, that as to what kind of skills and qualification he should have if he wants to be well placed in a particular career. Then, not to mention again, the programs must include critically important courses in life skills such as communication skills. Communication skills, I would like to talk about a little, I would like to talk about it. Communication, as we generally try to understand it, communication is the exchange of words, is the exchange of information between two or more people who are who is one is a sender and the other one is a receiver. But one thing I would like to talk about here is that communication just does not end with the exchange of the information. A very important aspect of communication is timely feedback, which makes the spirit of the communication and the relevance of the communication the relevance of the communication 100%. It gives a 100% touch to it, accuracy to it. If we are getting a message from a person and we don't give 100% and we don't give a prompt reply or a response to the sender, then the spirit of the communication is lost. And once the spirit is lost, then the furthering of the talk or the furthering of the dialogue becomes a problem. A second very important part of communication is listening. Generally, when we talk, generally, when people talk, they forget to listen to others. Listening is something which enhances communication. So, communication, listening is something which tells you what the other person is thinking about. It helps you to digest his body language. It helps you to assimilate his actions, reactions, and you can it moreover when you are ready to listen to whenever you are ready to listen to the communicator at the other end, you are encouraging communication between the two. Good listening is as important as good talking. So with communication should come with effective listening also. Then we have digital and financial literacy. This is one thing which has taken a new dimension altogether with the incorporation of with the incorporation of online banking and online payments. Then most of the youngsters, they now these days they prefer to make their payments through online banking, through Paytms, GPays, and things like that. And it definitely has helped even even the ladies who manages the house or elderly people. Their life has also eased because of this particular aspect. Then entrepreneurship and so on. uh, a very important part of the approach of vocational education is work with NCRT to Pandit Sundar Sundarlal Sharma Central Institute of Vocational Education, that is PSSCIE, and to create curriculum, that is the subject for the syllabus for a particular subject, to create curriculum and supplementary educational material for vocational education that are adapted to local needs. I would like to specify the term local needs here. Again, we are thinking of a collaboration between NCRT, that is National Council of Education, Research and Training, and between PSSCIE. In that also, whatever the syllabus the syllabus will be generated. It should be generated keeping in mind the local needs and the framework, because we cannot have fruitful education if it is taken away from the root level or from the basic level. We have to have a very deep understanding of what is required locally, what is required regionally. Then we can have a little understanding about the requirement of the state and ultimately the country, that is the sustainability of the country in terms of education, so that it can become a leader in education and also enhance the life of our people through the system of education and vocational education. A very important part that has been covered by a very important part that has been covered by NEP is we need to train teachers. We need to train local teachers and teachers from high educational institutes. Am I audible to all?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Actually, there's a little network issue today, so that's why. A very important part that has been highlighted by the approach towards vocational education is the training of the training of teachers and instructors, those who will be entrusted with the responsibility of giving a particular vocational education to the student. It has to be done in schools, it has to be done in colleges and universities, even in high educational institutes. If they need teachers for this purpose, they have to make provisions of recruitment, and then a proper scientific selection of such teachers has to be done. If teachers need training, I mean, the teachers, they are there and they need a specific training for enhancing their knowledge about this, then the institute or the school should make provision for teachers training program also, so that they can enhance their existing knowledge and teach the students uh, to the best of their abilities. Um, then the government has also planned to conduct a small assessments. They would not be as rigorous as a academic calendar or academic curriculum, but an assessment would definitely be held so that a grading or some kind of a marks allotment can be done, and it would definitely help to motivate a student towards his performance and towards how better has he performed, how diligently and intelligently he has worked towards the learning of the vocation he has selected for himself in the school or in the college. Then is network of ministries, bodies, agencies, and institutions, as well as local industries and individual, is an effort to optimize the learning and exposure of students at all stages. That is, this basically shows that whatever is existing, whatever mechanism or uh, uh, the channels are existing in the internal environment and the external environment of learning, that is the school, the college, the university, then you have the business houses, different institutes, whatever systems are there in the internal and the external environment, all of them should collaborate with each other, because transformation cannot be achieved in isolation. Transformation has to be in cohesion with each other. Whenever we are trying to transform a concept, whenever we are trying to transform an existing practice and achieve something new, a collaborative effort of each and every individual and each and every agency of the society is smart. That is not only the legislative partnership, but it has to be from the society, from the business, and from the people who can incorporate this in a more practical and favorable manner. Then is they have, apart from the approaches which have been enlisted by the government, by the in the not by the government, by the panel of NEP 2020. They have also called out, they have also specified how can we integrate vocational education into colleges and universities, as to how should schools, colleges and universities work or how should they start build up a platform so that they can facilitate this particular dimension of NEP. Now, this is a kind of a process. It's a kind of a, you can say, uh, it's a kind of a flow chart which has been which is there for the help of the schools, so that if they want to, if they feel that they are missing out on something, they are missing out, they are not able to they are not able to they are not able to make a desired change or a desired incorporation of education, then they can proceed according to it and make it more achievable. Like the first step is integrating vocational education into all secondary schools and higher education institutions. All academic institutions will be required. It's again the same thing which I have talked about. All academic institutions will be required to integrate vocational education in their educational offerings in a phased manner over a period of decade. Over a period of decade is 10 years of time. Then is facilitating sharing of know-how and best practices among educational institutions. This is one point which talks about collaborative approach. That is, you just not need to keep your knowledge to yourself. It should be shared with others, with other people who are there in the same domain, so that they gain from you and you also gain from them. Formal mechanism for mentoring and sharing know-how will be put in place. A formal body must be dedicated to this task. Such a body can serve schools, colleges, and universities so as to help bring synergies across school and higher education. Synergy is when when all the schools or the educational institutions, they are working and they are thinking and delivering with the same energy towards this particular goal, then that is how the synergy towards generating vocational education will be achieved. The next very important point which shall be incorporated at school and institution level is skill gap analysis and skill gap analysis and mapping of local opportunity. Skill gap mapping, that is how it's a basically is another term for demand and supply of talent which is required by the society at both micro and macro level. And mapping of local opportunity, it would have a more practical viewpoint, it would have a more realistic viewpoint if we are able to generate our vocational education courses keeping in mind or keeping in touch the local requirement also. Because see, if we that we have been talking of going of going of going global, of going outside, of reaching outside the boundaries, but ultimately the best utilization of local resources helps in having an edge. If we have a skill or we have a vocation for which there can be contributors at the local scale, at the local level, at the city level, it would definitely help the school, the institutions to make their vocational education approach more practical. They would be able to participate with a lot of enthusiasm, because they know, because every time a person no doubt is more comfortable in his or her domain as compared to when he or she has to work outside the domain or collaborate with external. Naturally, collaboration has to be there, but if in case we can keep a tab on what's happening around, how can we contribute to to the environment just outside our periphery or just outside the periphery of our institution, then why not? Why not take it to the next level? Why do we have to cross the boundary or the periphery of our particular region or of our particular city or region and then go to the next? Of course, we can move ahead, but the gap shall be minimized there and then. One particular gap, if it can be fulfilled by the schools, the diversion of the resources should be towards it. That is skill gap analysis and mapping of local opportunity. This I have already talked about that the demand and the supply of professionals and the people, the students who are coming out of our schools and universities shall be in mind, keeping the demand of the industry. Same is here, that we should be able to have a very clear cut idea about the skill gap analysis, and then the mapping of the local opportunities is also done. This is also done in collaboration and with the help of the government institutions such as NSDC. And apart from that, the kind of a vocational education we want to incorporate, there are different authorities related to it. So we can take help from them also. Next is funding support for the integration of vocational education into all educational institutions. This is something which is very very important, because funds, they help to mobilize our resources, and they definitely create a ease in working and towards the incorporation of any aspect of work. Because no matter what, even if a setup or an institution has to start something new, at least a minimum infrastructure, a minimum setup is required. And for that, fund has to be there. If it is a private, if it is a government school, a government college, a government university, then the government or the state, the state or the central government has to take care of the funds for the particular issue. And if it is a private run school or a college or a university, then the measure has to be taken carefully by the owner of the institution. The next is coordination between MHRD and MSDE. MHRD has been renamed as the Department of Education by the National Education Policy. So, under for this particular aspect, coordination between MHRD is again the Department of Education, and MSD is Ministry of Skill Development by and skill development by the government. And then coming to the technical aspect of this particular work is data gathering, MIS, and technology support for the rollout of vocational education. Data gathering is how many students we have in schools, how many students we have in colleges and higher institutions. Do they have any kind of a vocational education? What kind of a vocational education do we need? How many can we how can we divide our students if, according to the need of the hour, according to the need of the vocational education avenues that is available? Then is MIS. MIS is Management Information System. It's basically when the complete data about the complete information about a particular concept is available to all the people is available on a single platform or on a single link to all the users of that particular platform, it would definitely help. Because when we are incorporating something new, some new system, some new avenues of learning, we need to have information also. We cannot work in isolation. We need to take information, and we need to deliver information also. MIS is one such platform which helps in developing, which helps in consolidating the information that can that has been generated by the different participants in vocational education, be it the government, the central or the state, and then we have the local authorities or other different government institutions, and also the institutions who are participating in it. That would definitely be a very helpful platform for in the delivery of vocational education. And uh, technology support for the rollout of vocational education. Technology is something which gives an edge to learning, which gives an edge to knowledge and application and execution of knowledge in the 21st century. Uh, a very current example of technology is we are able to organize, or we are able to organize academic activities, meetings, conferences through Zoom. This was not possible before 2020. So every technology, the and access to technology, how can we use the technology? That is also something which is very important and which should be taught to to the users of the vocational education. Now, the schools, the institutions who have been given the responsibility, who have been given the task of enriching the learning experience, of enriching the personality of the student through vocational education, must have support of the government and or the concerned authorities, whoever has been entrusted with the responsibility for generating a technological platform so that the delivery and execution of vocational education can be carried out. A next topic of I would the next topic for today's session is frameworks and standards under which vocational education has to be incorporated. Framework is basically frameworks are, you can say, guidelines. Frameworks are kind of checkpoints which are established for the uh, uh, checkpoints for how can we proceed, or till where can we proceed, because everything needs to have a structure. So a framework has been established by the government, keeping in mind that how can the institutions go about it. And standards are that if we are incorporating a particular a particular uh, education, a particular technical learning, or a thing like that, then it needs to have a minimum standard. Standard is in very simple words, I would say a standard is something which is the expected outcome of any particular learning, of any particular course that has been undertaken by the student, or by a profession. Because when you learn, because when we learn something, or when a student learns something, he is expected to deliver some, he is expected to deliver or show some minimum qualities. That is a standard which has to be taken care of by the institutions who are incorporating the setup of vocational education. First is, in this we have NSQF, that is the national skill, the NSQF. I'm sorry, SQF needs to be, I'll go about it. Yes, uh, detailing the national skills qualification framework. Uh, that is the national skill qualification framework. That is the NSQF. It is same as, it is the same as data gathering, or you can say comparison between the demand and the supply of the talent. And it is, in the short form, it is known as NSQF, National Skills Qualification Framework. As to what skills it's a framework is, how what skills do we require, how many people do we have at different levels, and how many people more are shall be incorporated in the system at a regular point of time, so that a proper, a systematic or a scientific demand and supply of vocationally trained students can be made into the mainstream. Next is national occupational standards and international compatibility of standards. This is keeping in mind the global approach of education. National occupational standards. Whatever we occupy, now this is a term which has come for the first time in this particular talk, that is occupation. There's a little difference between the term occupation and vocation. Occupation is something, it's a kind of a skill which a person learns, but he doesn't need to have a very clear cut theoretical knowledge about it. That is, if anyone takes up a job as a plumber or a carpenter, by learning the job, by learning the work with an existing plumber or a carpenter, then and he earns or makes his livelihood from it, that is known as an occupation. But vocation is something which is skill with a formal setup of knowledge which involves analysis and reasoning. So the next framework which shall be taken care of by the institutions is national occupational standards and international compatibility of standards. We already have an organization which is known as International Standards Classification of Occupations, ISCO, and it should be taken care of by National Occupational Standards, that is NOS. It's applicable in every domain. I mean, though the name is different, but it is applicable in every domain, that whatever skills we want to take to the global level, we have to take care of the international standards in that particular area. It is not applicable in every area, but it is applicable in the area in which the application of vocational education is preferred, or is kept in mind that it has to be taken to the global level. Next is National Qualifications Register. It is more or less the same as NSQF, because in NSQF we talked about National Skill Qualification Framework. Here it is National Qualification Register. It is also, it has a data which is related to what all qualifications the people of the citizens of a country are having, starting from a child to an adult, till one gains employability in the formal or the informal sector. Then another thing which I would like to talk about is vocational education in secondary school. This is vocational education in secondary schools. First point which should be taken care of by the schools, that is the senior secondary schools, is curriculum and assessment. We need to have a very well designed curriculum also about the vocational education which will be taken up, the vocational education course which will be taken care of. Curriculum means the theory part, the syllabus of the theory, the chapters, the learning modules that would be covered in the vocation, shall be very scientifically enumerated and discussed with the teachers who have been appointed with the responsibility of taking a particular course. Because it's vocational education, as I have already put up, it means that you are increasing the know-how, the knowledge, the subject knowledge, along with the skill, along with the practical application of a particular talent, of a particular dimension. You cannot just imbibe training or application skills without keeping in mind the knowledge. Because until unless you make a person knowledgeable, you make a person um, theoretically sound, he cannot make he cannot deliver his ideas, he cannot deliver his knowledge or communicate with others. And at the same time, a scientific assessment, depending upon the schedule, depending upon the length of the course, depending upon the duration of the course, and how much has been covered and how much has been covered in the course, has to be taken care of by the school. And it has to be in liaison, it has to be in prescribed format by the authorities who are overseeing this particular aspect of it. Then teachers and trainers, they are a very vital part of the whole infrastructure. And a teacher, he can be an academic teacher, he can be a non-academic teacher, but or he might be a trainer which a school might be employing on a regular basis or on a contractual basis or whatever. But he or she has to be appointed, and he or she must have the prescribed qualification, certification, and is an expert in the field, so that he can give or contribute his best towards the learning of the student. Moreover, if the training of the teacher, even if they are existing in the system and if it is required, then it should be undertaken by the school and the institute. Teacher training I have already covered. Then we have state level infrastructure for the provisional of vocation education. It is a state level structure, state level state level infrastructure that is happening here now these days. Also, the government has set up various vocational institutions, and which are specifically, some are specifically for girls, some are specifically for ladies who are working, who are there for the house ladies, you can say. And then there are vocational institutions there where boys can go or the males can go, and they can learn the technical or the mechanical aspect of work if they want to. So the government is taking care of, and such kind of an institutions or vocational vocational setups are being facilitated in government schools, in government colleges, and the government is making use of these schools and colleges apart from their academic or their academic timetable. The schools, these kind of schools are conducted either on the weekends, like Friday and Saturday and Sunday for the full day, and then they have the part time, like they have few hours of classes and few hours of learning module as as per the suitability of the full-time schools and the institutions that are already running the campus. The government has to name a few, the government has started vocational institutions for girls for teaching them stitching, for teaching them how to make pickle and papad also. Then they have a learning of woolen clothes, how to knit woolen clothes, and so many other art and craft which is getting lost at the local level. But we always need, no matter how technically sound a person can be or a society can be in the 21st century, but such art and craft or little dimensions of food industry, they would always have their presence in the culture, in the eating pattern of the people, and you cannot segregate them. They are a kind of a support system to the working of everybody in combination. The government has taken vocational, the next topic is about vocational education as an integral part of higher education. First is expansion of vocational education at undergraduate level. Undergraduate level is when a student comes for a undergraduate degree such as a bachelor's degree, then vocational education has been mandatory. And again, in this, the government has wants to achieve enrollment ratio up to 50% by the year 2025. All the undergraduate institutions have been given the task of the incorporation through the medium of diploma, advanced diploma, and BVOC degrees that are aligned with NSQF, National Skill Qualification Framework. Then is student mobility across general and vocational education. This is one thing which is which has incorporation of multidisciplinary approach and free movement of student across different streams of education to make him more versatile, to make him more talented, and to make him more skilled. That is, student should be encouraged. Rather, the timetable of the student should be so designed by the school, or by the not by the school, by the college and the university, that he should have a mindset, he should have a ready mindset as to that if I am learning I'm learning these subjects for a particular graduate degree or a postgraduate degree, then I am learning or I am investing my time in this particular vocation for the betterment of my skill in a particular week. This is, but this has to be incorporated by the participation and by the willingness and contribution. The college and the university authorities should initiate this particular mechanism, this particular timetable, so that student can adjust or can divert his energy or can very positively synergize between his academics and between his vocational course. Even if, even when timetables are made, even when exam schedules are drawn for academic, for academics, that is any kind of a degree, then even at that time, the timetable, or you can say the schedule of the vocational stream, should be kept in mind, and it should be very clearly taken care of. Because if vocational courses are disturbed by assessments or by any kind of academic activity, then the zeal of the course and the zeal of the learning environment gets disturbed. So it has to be a very collaborative framework under which assessments and the time of the student shall be distributed to enhance his mobility between academics and vocational streams. There is one work integrated training and other models, that is basically a call for internships, and it's a call for internship. It's a very healthy aspect of vocational education. Some courses which have which are there, in which you have to work with outside firms or with outside agencies. Internships are a compulsory part. Especially we have the BTC, then we have MBA, and a lot of other things are there. A lot of other courses are the BBA, BCA, MCA. So a lot of other courses are there in which internship is a mandatory. It basically helps a student to justify his knowledge, to test his knowledge, theoretical knowledge, into when he puts it into a practical use. This is one point. Secondly, research is also research also develops from here, because once we incorporate whatever we have learned in practice or in practical, then the results that are being generated by the by a learning and by a practical experience, by a learning and a practical application, it creates a scope of research also in that particular field. The call of the 21st century is multidisciplinary, and so you never know what subject helps in the study, or what particular stream helps in the study of another. Then is the trainings, or you can say internships, have to be taken care of, or have to be undertaken at the suggested colleges, or suggested industries, and suggested centers of learning and development. That has to be taken care of by the authorities, and they have to guide the student about which platform will be most suitable for them. Then is incentivizing apprenticeship. So this is something which is very good, which is kind of a motivational factor, which has been put up by the government. Because if trainees, I mean the student, they are given a little incentive. They are given even if the amount is not huge, they are given a little incentive for their training. It definitely adds on to their confidence, because it tells them the value. It somehow they're able to attach the value, they're able to attach this thing, that they have been given a particular remuneration because of their work, because of the time they have devoted in their work, because of the time, because of the energy they have devoted in their studies, and the labor, the dedication they have put up in their work. So it helps to motivate students, it helps to motivate scholars and learners who want to go ahead, and they would definitely go ahead if they are given a little incentives for their training. And money can be a factor for many people. Money can be a factor for many people. We cannot rule out this possibility because everyone has their own financial setup. So if we are able to smooth that financial setup, or if we are able to ease the financial burden on parents, then definitely they would also be very willing, and they would also have a very willing and a motivating and a contributing approach towards the learning of their children. Because it has been seen that somehow some students, they withdraw from education, they withdraw from universities and colleges because of money. So if little apprenticeship, and at the same time, if the placement is also promised to certain students, if they are outstanding performers, then it's going to be a it's going to be a feather in the cap. It's going to help. It's going to help to bring out more effectivity and efficiency from this particular group. Then certificate courses for students in mainstream education. Uh, we have already talked about that the courses which have been included by schools, or have been in schools, shall be duly mentioned in their report cards, or whatever their performance statistics are. But in universities and colleges, since they are a step ahead of the school, we can very well think of starting diploma, or small diploma courses, which can be shown along with the mainstream education. Because when a student writes his or her CV, and they add more they add more skills to their name or to their resume, it gives them a advantage. See, if a student has undertaken a 6 months certificate course in computers in the college or in the universities, so that would help him to place it in the biodata, and add and attach more value to it, and attract more people, more companies towards his placement also. Then we have trainers. Trainers is as has been talked about, for teachers, for instructors in school. Same is the case in for colleges and universities. We need to have trainers. If we need to have trainers, the trainers can be both in-house and out-house. That is, we can outsource them as and when desired, as and when the requirement comes. And but they should be an expert. They should be able to deliver the quality which is expected, so that they are able to deliver the outcome. They are able to deliver the input to the students, so that they are able to deliver the outcome, which has to meet the framework and the standards at the national and the international level. One more thing which has to be taken care of is uh, a very willing and a non-biased attitude of a trainer is also a must. Because if a person who is training, I mean the instructor who is training or instructing or teaching, if he or she is biased, or if uh, if he is not too much willing to teach, or too much willing to contribute towards the knowledge of the disciple, of the scholar in learning, then the whole process, or the whole philosophy, or uh, the whole concept uh, of the NEP is lost. So a very big responsibility lies on the shoulders of the trainers and the instructors, and the teachers who have been incorporated the task, that they should be able to deliver what has been uh, they have been entrusted with the responsibility of delivering, so that a student can learn from them, can learn and assimilate and make a change, make a remarkable change in his life in the generation or in the times to come. Then certain areas of special focus have also been identified under vocational education. Uh, they, the vocational education, they have talked about the concept of Lok Vidya must be nurtured as vocations be fully leveraged for the economic well-being of its practitioners and to be passed on to future generations in a systematic fashion. Lok Vidya is something again which resonates, which has synergy with local and with local art and craft, with local requirements, and as the thought goes, be vocal for local. Be vocal for local means you have to see what best can be done from our immediately existing system and what else can then be taken on to the next level. Now, there is millennia worth of learning embodied in the systems and knowledge that have developed in India for the production, development, and management of various goods and services. But the most important part of vocational education is the incorporation of Lok Vidya, so that we are able to transfer what exists with, in our system, in our immediate system, to the next level. That can be the city, the region, the state, the country, or the global platform. So how are we going to incorporate Lok Vidya? This is the last segment of the talk today. This is enhancing the work of local craftsperson and artisans. We need to empower. We need to make people, the people who are in our system, in our external environment, any kind of a art, any kind of a craft that is existing, we need to empower the practitioners of those. We need to ask our people, our children to learn that particular art and craft. Then second is special focus on rural areas. Rural areas. India is a big country and we have population living in rural, even living in urban areas, and a very good proportion of population living in rural areas. So even if we are not able to identify an art or a craft in our city or in our immediate system, we need to have a very healthy interaction, a very continuous interaction with our rural areas in terms of their culture, in the terms of their arts and crafts, and the different dance forms that can originate from there. Because ultimately, it is the people of the rural areas that have shifted to the urban areas. So the art and craft thing can, if not easily identified in the city surroundings or in the metro surroundings, they can be identified in the nearby rural areas. But for that, we need to have an interactive pattern. We need to have a very constant touch with those people. For that particular reason, special culture platforms can be incorporated. The panchayats can play a very important role. The panchayats can incorporate a system where the rural people can get in touch, or the city people, the city authorities can get in touch with the rural people, and they feel more confident that they are not talking to strangers or people who are going to misuse or who are going to manipulate their knowledge, but they are going to they are going to help them to enhance their knowledge and maximize their resources and its utilization. And the same thing has been put up by special focus on tribal areas also. Tribal areas are a rich the tribal areas are a rich center of dances, of rich center of folklores. Then they have a special craft. They have a very special craft of stones, of jewelry making, then pottery making also in some cases. So we need to have a touch with the tribal areas also. Tribal areas, the tribal people, they generally don't want to come out of their periphery. They feel more relaxed, more comfortable, and more with themselves when they are in the periphery of their own of their own region, or in the company of their own people. But it is with the help of the some people who have a knowledge of the tribal areas, that we can establish a contact with the tribal people, and they can be a contributor. They can be a contributor to towards the taking ahead of a particular art and craft. They can be a contributor in telling or educating other people about their art and craft, and it would also help in benefiting them economically and financially, because whatever money they'll earn, whatever revenue they'll generate from this particular thing would definitely benefit them, would definitely help to make their living conditions better. Now, concluding my talk today is I'll be concluding my talk now. Learning is learning is a continuous process. It is ever going, ever evolving, and if it is incorporated with a free and a liberal mind, then it would definitely add on to the personality and to the betterment of an individual, a society, the country, and the world as well. So, if learning takes place through the formal system of school, college, and university education, it definitely should be added on with vocational education, so that a student or any scholar who has been given a chance of standing on his own feet, of earning his own livelihood by by getting a formal setup of education, he and she shall be empowered by a skill, by a vocational education, so that he can be an entrepreneur, he can be a channel for a startup, and he can be a self-sustainable person during the times of crisis, as we have witnessed in during the COVID 2019 pandemic, in which many of the people lost their jobs, companies had to retrench people, but people who had capability, who had talent in their hands, they they suffered the least, because because they had a talent which made them earn their livelihood, and which made them live their life as they wanted to. So, vocational education is the call for the 21st century, and all of us in collaboration, collaboration and with the full energy, should strive to give every possible vocational education to our students and scholars who are there with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. If there is any doubt or you want to discuss something, please, you can ask. I think there is no query, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Thank you.
On behalf of the team, I want to thank you for such an productive and fruitful lecture. And thank you, ma'am, for accepting our invitation for as a resource person on today on a very short notice. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Sonakshi. I also enjoyed myself very much for being a part of this learning platform, and I hope my today's talk has been uh, shall be useful to the people who are there in this board. Thank you very
Yes, ma'am, for sure. Thank you, ma'am. And the next session will be at 2 p.m. with Professor